The scissors were still on my nightstand when I woke up, cold metal glinting in the morning light. My hand went to my head smooth, completely smooth, not a single strand left. The chemical burn on my scalp told me she'd used something strong, something that would make sure it never grew back the same way.
Just relax now.
On my pillow, a note in perfect cursive. Finally a look that matches your age, Margaret. Enjoy watching my wedding from the back row. V. That's when I knew my future daughter-in-law had just made the biggest mistake of her life. Before we go any further, I need you to do something for me. Subscribe to this channel right now because what happens next is going to blow your mind. And please leave a comment telling me what city you're watching from. I want to see how far this story travels. Trust me, you're going to want to see how this ends. Now let me take you back to where it all began. My name is Margaret Chen, and this morning, the morning of my only son's wedding, I woke up to find that someone had shaved my head while I slept. Not just shaved, destroyed. My scalp burned like fire. When I stumbled to the bathroom mirror, I saw red, irritated skin. Chemical burns. She'd used hair removal cream after she shaved me. Professional, thorough, cruel. I'm 64 years old. I've built a $40 million real estate empire from nothing. I've negotiated with politicians, developers, investors who tried to chew me up and spit me out. I buried my husband when I was 32 and raised our son alone while working 16-hour days. But nothing had ever made me feel as small as I felt standing in that bathroom staring at my reflection. The note sat on my nightstand. I picked it up with shaking hands. Finally, a look that matches your age, Margaret. Enjoy watching my wedding from the back row. P.S. Don't bother coming if you can't find a wig. We have a strict dress code. V. Vanessa, my son Daniel's fiancée, the woman who is about to become my daughter-in-law in exactly 4 hours. I sat down on the edge of my bed and did something I hadn't done in 30 years. I cried. Not the pretty, delicate crying you see in movies. Ugly, choking sobs that made my whole body shake. How had she gotten into my room? I'd locked the door. I always locked the door. Then I remembered. Last night, Vanessa had come by with a bottle of wine. Margaret, I know we've had our differences, but I want us to start fresh. Can we have a drink together? Just us. I'd been so surprised, so hopeful that I'd said yes. We sat in my kitchen. She poured generous glasses. We talked about the wedding, about Daniel, about their honeymoon plans. She was charming, warm, everything I'd wanted her to be for the past 2 years. I know I haven't always been easy, she said, reaching across the table to squeeze my hand. But I want you to know I'm going to take care of Daniel, and I hope you'll let me take care of you too. I'd actually gotten teary. Vanessa, that means so much to me. Here's to new beginnings, she said, raising her glass. I drank. We both drank. And then nothing. I didn't remember going to bed, didn't remember anything after that second glass of wine. She'd drugged me. I looked at the scissors on my nightstand again. My stomach turned. She'd sat here in my bedroom while I was unconscious. She'd taken her time. Shaved me completely applied. The cream, waited for it to work, rinsed it off. Probably took photos. My phone buzzed. A text from Daniel. Mom, are you up? Can't wait for you to see Vanessa in her dress. She looks like a princess. We're so lucky to have you. Love you. Lucky to have me. I stood up. My legs felt weak, but I forced them to hold me. I walked to my closet and pulled out the safe I'd installed last year. Inside was an envelope containing documents that would transfer $22 million to Daniel and Vanessa as a wedding gift. $22 million. The majority of my liquid assets, enough to set them up for life, enough to buy a house, start businesses, never worry about money again. I'd spent weeks preparing this gift, weeks agonizing over whether it was too much, whether I should keep more for myself. But Daniel was my only child, my baby. And Vanessa, well, I'd convinced myself that with time, with generosity, she'd come to love me. I stood there holding that envelope, looking at my bald reflection in the mirror across the room, and something inside me snapped. Not broke. Snapped. Like a rubber band pulled too tight, finally released. I put the envelope back in the safe, locked it, and called my attorney. Richard answered on the second ring. Margaret. Is everything okay? It's 6 in the morning. Richard, I need you to freeze the wedding gift transfer immediately. Silence. Then, Margaret, the documents are already drawn up. The transfer is scheduled to execute at the reception. If you want to stop it. Stop it. And Richard, I need you to come to my house tonight after the reception. We're going to rewrite my entire will. Margaret, what's happened? I looked at my bald head in the mirror. I finally woke up. I hung up and immediately called my hairstylist, Lucia. She'd been doing my hair for 20 years, knew me better than most people. Lucia, this is Margaret Chen. I need you at my house in 30 minutes, emergency, and bring the best wig you have. Margaret, what's wrong? Just trust me, please. While I waited for Lucia, I sat at my kitchen table and tried to think. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. The burn on my scalp throbbed with every heartbeat. Daniel, my son, the boy I'd raised, sacrificed everything for. Did he know what Vanessa had done? Was he part of this? No. He couldn't be. Daniel wasn't cruel. He was weak, yes. Too easily influenced, but not cruel. Or was I still making excuses for him? Still seeing the sweet 12-year-old who'd cried in my arms when his father died, instead of the 33-year-old man who'd watched his fiancée treat me like dirt for 2 years and never once defended me. Lucia arrived in 25 minutes. The moment she saw me, her hand flew to her mouth. Oh my God, Margaret, who did this to you? It doesn't matter. Can you help me? She set down her bag and came closer, gently touching my scalp. I winced. This is chemical burn. You need to see a doctor. After the wedding. Margaret. After the wedding, Lucia, please. She looked at me for a long moment, then nodded. Let me see what I can do. For the next hour, Lucia worked magic. She cleaned my scalp with something that stopped the burning, applied cooling gel, then fitted me with a wig, silvery gray shoulder length, so natural-looking, I almost forgot it wasn't real. When she held up the mirror, I barely recognized myself, not because of the wig, because of my eyes. They looked different, harder, clearer. Margaret, Lucia said softly, are you sure you want to go to this wedding? Oh, I'm going. I wouldn't miss it for the world. After Lucia left, I went to my bedroom and pulled out a small voice recorder I'd bought years ago for business meetings. Tested it. Still worked perfectly. Call it paranoia. Call it survival instinct. But something told me I was going to need evidence before this day was over. I slipped the recorder into my purse, then opened my closet to choose my outfit. Not the tasteful beige dress Vanessa had suggested I wear. Not the modest pearl jewelry she'd recommended. I pulled out a navy Armani dress I'd bought myself after closing my biggest deal last year. Tailored, expensive, powerful, and a pair of diamond earrings my husband had given me on our 10th anniversary. If Vanessa wanted me in the back row, I was going to make damn sure everyone noticed me there. At 8:30, my phone rang. Daniel. Mom, where are you? The ceremony starts at 10. You said you'd be here early to help. I'll be there at 9:30, sweetheart. Is everything okay? You sound weird. Everything's fine. I'll see you soon. I hung up before he could ask more questions. Then I sat down at my kitchen table, pulled out the recorder, and turned it on. My name is Margaret Chen. Today is May 14th, and it's my son Daniel's wedding day. This morning I woke up to find that my future daughter-in-law, Vanessa Park, drugged me last night and shaved my head while I slept. She left a note mocking me. I have the note as evidence along with the scissors and hair removal cream she left on my nightstand. I'm recording this in case anything else happens today, in case I need proof of what she's done. I stopped the recording and put everything in my purse. Then I looked at myself one more time in the mirror. Okay, Margaret, I said out loud. You've spent 32 years being the good mother, the generous mother, the mother who sacrifices everything. Let's see what happens when you stop. St. Andrew's Church stood in downtown Boston like it had for 150 years. Stone walls, stained glass windows, the smell of old wood and flowers. I'd gotten married there 35 years ago, buried my husband there, and now my son was getting married there. I pulled up at 9:45, deliberately late. When I walked in, the coordinator, a nervous young woman named Ashley, rushed over. Mrs. Chen, thank goodness, we were worried. Daniel's been asking for you. I'm here now. I walked down the side aisle toward the front where family was supposed to sit. Vanessa's mother, Patricia, was already seated. She looked me up and down with barely concealed disdain. "Margaret, that's an interesting hairstyle choice." I smiled. "Thank you, Patricia. You look lovely, too." I took my seat and pulled out my phone, making a show of checking messages. Really, I was turning on the voice recorder in my purse and setting it to maximum sensitivity. "Margaret," I looked up. Daniel stood there in his tuxedo, handsome and nervous. My baby boy. Except he wasn't a baby. He was a man who'd let his fiancée destroy me. "Hi, sweetheart. You look wonderful." He bent down to kiss my cheek. "Mom, are you okay? You seem, I don't know, different." "I'm perfect, just a little tired. You know how it is before big events." "Yeah." He hesitated. "Listen, Vanessa wanted me to ask, did you bring the wedding gift, the transfer documents?" There it was. Not, "How are you feeling, Mom?" Not, "Thanks for everything you've done." Just, "Did you bring the money?" I looked at my son. Really looked at him. When had he become this person? "The documents are being handled by Richard," I said. "Everything's taken care of." And relief flooded his face. "Oh, good. Vanessa was worried. You know how she is." "Yes," I said. "I'm learning exactly how she is." Something in my tone made him pause. "Mom, you should get back to the groomsmen, honey. I'll see you at the altar." He left, and I sat back in the pew, trying to breathe through the pain in my chest. Not the pain from the chemical burns on my scalp. The deeper pain, the kind that comes from realizing your child doesn't really see you anymore. You're just a resource, a bank, a means to an end. The church started filling up. Vanessa's friends, Daniel's college buddies, business associates I'd worked with for years. Everyone in their finest clothes, chattering and laughing. I sat alone in the front row recording everything. At 10:15 the music started. Everyone stood. Daniel took his place at the altar, his best man beside him. The bridesmaids came down the aisle in their pale pink dresses. Then the flower girl, Vanessa's niece. Then the music changed. Pachelbel's canon. Vanessa's entrance. Everyone turned to look at the back of the church. I turned too. Vanessa stood there in a dress that probably cost $30,000. White silk hand-beaded with a train that stretched 6 feet behind her. Her father stood beside her, beaming with pride. She looked like a princess. She looked like every girl's dream. And when her eyes met mine across the church, she smiled. Not the fake sweet smile she usually gave me. A different smile, one that said, "I won." She thought I'd break down, thought I'd run out of the church crying, thought she'd destroyed me. I smiled back, a smile that said, "Sweetheart, you have no idea what's coming." The ceremony began. The priest talked about love, commitment, partnership, about building a life together through good times and bad. I sat in the front row and watched my son promise to love and honor Vanessa, watched Vanessa promise to cherish and support Daniel. Every word was a lie. I knew it. Soon everyone else would know it too. But not yet. First, I needed more evidence, more proof, because if I was going to burn this whole thing down, I needed to make sure it burned completely. When the priest said, "If anyone objects to this union, speak now or forever hold your peace," I stayed silent. A few people glanced at me nervously. Vanessa's mother actually turned around to stare. But I just smiled pleasantly and waited. The moment would come, just not yet. "I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss the bride." Daniel kissed Vanessa. Everyone applauded. I applauded too slowly, deliberately, each clap echoing in my ears like a countdown. They walked down the aisle together, grinning, Vanessa's train flowing behind her like she was royalty. When they passed my pew, Daniel squeezed my shoulder. Vanessa didn't even look at me. The church emptied out for photos. I stayed in my seat pretending to check my phone. Really, I was listening. And that's when I heard it. Voices from the side corridor, low, urgent. I stood up casually and drifted toward the sound, staying behind a stone pillar. "Can't believe you called me. I told you not today." Daniel's voice. But who was he talking to? "I know, but I needed to hear your voice. 3 hours ago, you were still mine. Now you're married to her." A woman. Young. Emotional. My heart stopped. "Tessa, please. We talked about this. It's temporary. Just until I get the money from my mother." Tessa, his assistant, the pretty 26-year-old who'd started working at his office 6 months ago. You said that last month. You said once you got the wedding gift we could be together. But now, nothing's changed. I love you. You know that. But I need this money. My mother's transferring $22 million today. $22 million, Tessa. Once it's in my account, we can do anything. Go anywhere. And Vanessa? What about her? You think I love her? She's a means to an end. My mother adores her, thinks she's perfect. As long as I'm with Vanessa, Mom keeps the money flowing. But once the transfer goes through, I can divorce Vanessa quietly, give her a settlement, and you and I can start over. Fresh. Free. I pressed my hand against the stone pillar to keep from falling over. My son. My baby boy. Planning to rob me, betray his wife, run off with his mistress. All before his wedding reception even started. What about your mother? Won't she figure it out? Daniel laughed. Actually laughed. My mother, Tessa. She's desperate for me to be happy. Desperate to be needed. I could tell her I'm planning to burn her house down and she'd probably hand me matches. She's pathetic that way. Always has been. Pathetic. My son called me pathetic. Daniel, I'm scared. What if something goes wrong? Nothing's going to go wrong. Trust me. My mother's been taking care of me my whole life. She's not going to stop now. She can't. It's all she knows how to do. I love you. I love you too. Now go. Someone might see us. I'll text you after the reception. Footsteps. A door closing. Silence. I stood behind that pillar for a full minute, trying to breathe. The voice recorder in my purse had caught everything, every word, every betrayal. Pathetic. He thought I was pathetic. I pulled out my compact mirror and checked my reflection. The wig still looked perfect. My makeup hadn't smudged. I looked calm, composed, in control. Good. I walked back to the main church where guests were milling around before heading to the reception. Daniel stood near the altar, laughing with his groomsmen. When he saw me, he broke away and came over. Mom, are you coming to take photos? In a minute, sweetheart. I just need to use the restroom first. Okay, the reception starts at noon. Make sure you're there on time. Vanessa has the whole thing scheduled down to the minute. I'll be there. I went to the bathroom and locked myself in a stall. Then I pulled out my phone and listened to the recording of Daniel's conversation. She's pathetic that way. Always has been. I played it 3 times. Each time I felt something inside me harden. Not break. Harden. Like metal cooling after being forged. I'd spent 32 years making excuses for Daniel. He was young. He was grieving his father. He needed time to mature. He'd grow out of it. But he hadn't grown out of anything. I'd just enabled him to become this. A man who saw his own mother as a walking ATM. A man who'd marry someone he didn't love just to secure an inheritance. A man who'd call the person who'd sacrificed everything for him pathetic. My phone buzzed. A text from Vanessa. Hope you found a good seat in the back, Margaret. Wouldn't want you ruining the photos. XO. I stared at that text. The casual cruelty of it. The assumption that I'd just take it, just smile and nod and make myself small so she could shine. Another text, this one from Daniel. Mom, Richard just called. He said you asked him to freeze the transfer. That has to be a mistake, right? Can you call him and fix it? Vanessa's freaking out. So they'd already noticed. Already checked. The money was the only thing they cared about. I didn't respond. Instead, I called Richard. Margaret, I got a very angry call from your son. I know, don't budge. Not a single dollar moves without my explicit written approval. What's going on? I'll explain everything tonight. Right now, I need you to do one more thing. I'm going to send you an audio recording. I need you to keep it somewhere safe. Cloud storage backup drives everything. Margaret. Richard, I've known you for 20 years. I've never asked you to trust me without explanation. I'm asking now. Please. Silence. Then, send me the recording. I'll take care of it. I hung up and immediately forwarded the recording of Daniel's conversation to Richard, along with photos of my shaved head and the note Vanessa left. My phone exploded with texts. Daniel, Vanessa, Patricia, even some of Daniel's groomsmen. Mom, what's going on? Margaret, there seems to be some confusion about the gift. Mrs. Chen Daniel says you're blocking the transfer. Is there a problem? I turned off my phone. Then I walked out of that bathroom through the church and into the bright May sunshine. Cars were lining up to head to the reception. A caravan of Mercedes and BMWs all honking and decorated with white ribbons. I got into my own car and sat there for a moment, hands on the steering wheel. I could leave, drive home, disappear, let them have their perfect wedding without me. But that's what Vanessa wanted. That's what Daniel expected. For me to just go away, to be pathetic. I started the car. The reception was at the Harbor Club, one of the most exclusive venues in Boston. Waterfront views, crystal chandeliers, a menu that cost $500 per person. I'd paid for half of it. Vanessa's parents had pitched in the other half, though they'd made it clear they thought I should be covering more. I should have been covering everything, apparently. That's what the mother of the groom does. Right, pays for everything and shuts up. Not today. I pulled into the Harbor Club parking lot at exactly noon. The lot was already full. Through the tall windows, I could see guests filing into the ballroom. I checked my wig one more time in the rearview mirror. Perfect. No one would know unless they looked very, very closely. I grabbed my purse, making sure the recorder was still running, and walked inside. The ballroom took my breath away. Vanessa had outdone herself. White orchids everywhere, candles on every table, a live band on a raised platform. The head table sat on a dais decorated with cascading flowers and fairy lights. It looked like a fairy tale. It looked like $50,000. My $50,000. A coordinator rushed over. "Mrs. Chen, you're at table 12. "Table 12, where's that?" She pointed toward the back corner, far from the head table, far from the dance floor, practically hidden behind a pillar. The back row, just like Vanessa promised. I smiled at the coordinator. "Actually, I think there's been a mistake. The mother of the groom traditionally sits at the head table." "Oh, Miss Mrs. Chen, the bride, specifically requested that you sit at table 12. She said you'd be more comfortable there." "Did she?" The coordinator looked terrified. "I'm just following the seating chart. It's fine. Table 12 is perfect." I walked to the back corner and found my seat. Table 12 held 8 people, distant cousins of Daniel's I barely knew, plus Vanessa's great-aunt, who was 90 and deaf. Great-aunt Helen smiled at me. "Who are you, dear?" "I'm Margaret, the groom's mother." "What? I'm the groom's mother." "Oh, how nice. Is the groom here?" This was where they'd put me. This was what I was worth to them. I sat down and watched the room fill up. Vanessa's friends, loud and glamorous. Daniel's college buddies, already drunk. Business associates who'd probably come just to network. Then Daniel and Vanessa entered to thunderous applause. She'd changed into a different dress, shorter, easier to move in. They did their first dance to some sappy pop song. Everyone cooed. I watched from table 12, recording everything. The salad course came. Bib lettuce with candied walnuts. Delicious. The coordinator clearly hadn't been told to poison my food yet. Then the entrees. Filet mignon or pan-seared salmon. I chose the salmon. It was perfect. I was almost enjoying myself. Almost. Around 2 o'clock, the best man stood up to give his toast. Generic stories about Daniel's wild college days, jokes about how Vanessa tamed him, wishes for their future happiness. Then Vanessa's maid of honor stood. Her name was Chloe, and she was already crying. Vanessa and I have been best friends since freshman year. I've watched her date so many guys waiting for the right one, and when she met Daniel, I knew he was the one because Daniel gave her everything she deserved: security, stability, a future. She paused, looking directly at Vanessa, and most importantly, freedom. Freedom from ever having to worry about anything again. Freedom. That's what my money bought her. Freedom. The coordinator approached the head table and whispered something to Vanessa. Vanessa's face tightened. She leaned over to Daniel, whispering urgently. Daniel pulled out his phone, looked at it, went pale. They'd just realized the money wasn't coming. Vanessa stood up abruptly and walked toward the back of the ballroom. Daniel followed. I watched them disappear into a hallway. Great-Aunt Helen tapped my arm. "Is something wrong, dear?" "I don't think so. Why? The bride looks upset. Does she? I hadn't noticed. I excused myself and drifted toward the hallway. Voices echoed from a small room labeled Bride's Suite. Told you to confirm with Richard this morning. I did. He said everything was fine. Then why did I just get a text saying the transfer is frozen? I don't know. Maybe there's a technical problem. A technical problem, Daniel, that's $22 million. I know. Call your mother right now. She's not answering her phone. Then find her. She's here somewhere, in the back corner where I told them to put her. Vanessa, calm down. Don't tell me to calm down. Without that money, we're screwed. The house, we put an offer on the honeymoon. Everything we need, that money. We'll figure it out. No, you'll figure it out. This is your mother, your job. I did my part. I smiled at her for 2 years, pretended to care about her boring stories, let her think we were friends. I even gave her that wine last night so I could... Vanessa stopped abruptly. Could what? Daniel's voice was quiet now. Dangerous. Nothing. Never mind. Vanessa, what did you do last night? I taught her a lesson. She needed to know her place. What lesson? It doesn't matter. The point is, what did you do? Silence. Then Vanessa laughed. Not a nice laugh. A hard, brittle sound. I shaved her head while she was passed out from the wine, and it felt amazing. More silence. You did what? Oh, don't be such a baby. She deserved it. Walking around like she owns everything, looking down at me. I just reminded her that she's old and I'm young and this is my day, not hers. Jesus Christ, Vanessa. Don't Jesus Christ me. You said you wanted her taken down a peg. You said she was smothering you. I did what you were too scared to do. I didn't tell you to assault her. Assault, I gave her a haircut. Besides, what's she gonna do? Call the police on her son's wedding day, ruin everything? She won't. She's too pathetic, too desperate to be loved. Pathetic. That word again. I stood in the hallway recording every word and felt something cold settle in my chest. Not anger anymore. Something beyond anger. Clarity. Pure crystalline clarity. They deserved each other. My son and his bride. Two people who saw love as a transaction and other people as resources to be used. And I was done being used. I walked back to table 12 and sat down. Great Aunt Helen had fallen asleep, her head tilted back, mouth open. The salad plates were being cleared. The waiters moved with practiced efficiency. On the head table, Vanessa and Daniel returned. They were both smiling again, but the smiles looked painted on. Vanessa kept glancing toward the back of the room, searching for me. Let her search. Dessert came individual chocolate lava cakes with raspberry coulis. Beautiful. Probably delicious. I couldn't taste it. Then the MC stood up. Ladies and gentlemen, we have one more special moment before the dancing begins. The mother of the groom, Margaret Chen, would like to say a few words. I hadn't asked to speak. This wasn't on the program. But Vanessa was smiling at me from the head table. A challenging smile. She'd arranged this. Wanted to watch me squirm. Wanted me to stand up in front of 300 people and praise her, thank her, welcome her to the family. Wanted me to be pathetic one more time. I stood up. Everyone turned to look at me. 300 faces, 300 pairs of eyes. I picked up my purse and walked slowly toward the front of the room. My heels clicked on the polished floor. The band stopped playing. The room went silent. When I reached the microphone, I set my purse down on the head table, right next to Vanessa's champagne glass. Thank you, I said. My voice echoed through the room. I wasn't planning to speak today, but since I've been given this opportunity, there are a few things I'd like to say. Daniel looked confused. Vanessa's smile had frozen on her face. First, I want to thank everyone for coming to celebrate with Daniel and Vanessa. Marriage is a sacred commitment. It's built on love, trust, and honesty. Murmurs of agreement. People nodded. For 32 years, I've been blessed to be Daniel's mother. I raised him alone after his father died, and I really tried to teach him values, integrity, respect, gratitude. Daniel's face was turning red. He knew. Somehow he knew this wasn't going to be a normal speech. I also tried to welcome Vanessa into our family, to see her as the daughter I never had. to be generous and loving and supportive. Vanessa's smile was gone now. She sat rigid in her chair. But today I learned something important. I learned that not everyone deserves generosity, not everyone deserves love, and not everyone deserves trust. The room went dead silent. You could have heard a pin drop. I reached into my purse and pulled out the voice recorder. Before I continue, I think everyone should hear something. Mom. Daniel started to stand. Sit down, Daniel. Something in my voice made him obey. He sat. I pressed play. Daniel's voice filled the ballroom crystal clear through the sound system. She's pathetic that way, always has been. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Daniel's face went white. The recording continued. My mother, Tessa, she's desperate for me to be happy, desperate to be needed. I could tell her I'm planning to burn her house down and she'd probably hand me matches. Someone near the front whispered, "Oh my God." And the recording played on, "Once the transfer goes through, I can divorce Vanessa, quietly give her a settlement, and you and I can start over. Fresh. Free." Now Vanessa shot to her feet. That's fake. She edited that. It's not edited, I said calmly. It's a recording of my son talking to his mistress in the church corridor this morning, about 2 hours before he married you, Vanessa. The room exploded. People talking, shouting, pulling out phones. Vanessa turned to Daniel, face twisted with fury and shock. You're sleeping with someone else today on our wedding day. Daniel just sat there speechless. But I wasn't done yet. I pulled out my phone and held it up. And since we're sharing, here's a text from Vanessa this morning. I read it out loud. Hope you found a good seat in the back, Margaret. Wouldn't want you ruining the photos. Then I reached up and slowly, deliberately pulled off my wig. The room went completely silent. 300 people stared at my bald, chemically burned scalp. Vanessa drugged me last night, put something in the wine we shared, then she shaved my head while I was unconscious and left me this note. I held up the note. My hands didn't shake. Finally, a look that matches your age, Margaret. Enjoy watching my wedding from the back row. Someone started crying. I think it was Patricia, Vanessa's mother. So let me make one thing very clear, I said. The $22 million I'd planned to give as a wedding gift, it's not happening, not a single penny. I've instructed my attorney to freeze all transfers and rewrite my will. Daniel, you're no longer a beneficiary. Vanessa, you get nothing. You can't do that, Vanessa shrieked. That money is mine, I said. It's my money, and I can do whatever I want with it. I picked up my wig and my purse. Enjoy your marriage, I said. Congratulations, you deserve each other. Then I walked out of that ballroom, leaving 300 stunned people and 2 destroyed newlyweds behind me. The last thing I heard as the doors closed was Vanessa screaming at Daniel. But I didn't stop. Didn't look back. I walked straight to my car, got in, and drove away from the Harbor Club. My phone started ringing before I even reached the highway. Daniel, Vanessa, Patricia, Richard. Numbers I didn't recognize. I turned it off. And for the first time in 32 years, I drove home in complete, beautiful silence. When I got home, I poured myself a glass of wine, real wine, not drugged, and sat on my back porch watching the sunset over Boston Harbor. My scalp still burned, my heart still ached. But I was free. Finally, completely free. And tomorrow, I'd figure out what Margaret Chen wanted to do with the rest of her life. Tonight, I just sat there and watched the sky turn pink and orange and purple, and I smiled. The battle was just beginning. But for the first time in decades, I was ready to fight. The wine tasted like victory, or maybe just expensive Merlot. I couldn't tell anymore. I sat on my back porch, watching the harbor lights flicker on one by one as darkness settled over Boston, and I realized my hands had finally stopped shaking. My phone sat on the table beside me, turned off silent. I knew what was happening on the other end. Panic, rage, desperate attempts to reach me. But for the first time in 3 decades, I didn't care what Daniel needed from me. The doorbell rang at 7:15. I didn't move. Whoever it was could wait, or leave. I didn't particularly care which. The ringing became pounding, fists against wood. Then Daniel's voice cracking with something between anger and desperation. "Mom, I know you're in there. Open the door." I took another sip of wine. Mom, please, we need to talk about this. You can't destroy my life like this. I stood up slowly, my knees protesting. The chemical burns on my scalp throbbed with each heartbeat. I walked through my house paid for with my money filled with furniture I'd chosen, and stood in front of the door. Go home, Daniel. Mom, please, just let me explain. Explain what? That you called me pathetic, that you were planning to rob me and run off with your secretary, that you let your wife drug and assault me. Which part needs explaining? Silence. Then, I didn't know what Vanessa did. I swear, when she told me I was furious. You were furious that she got caught, not that she did it. That's not fair. I laughed. Actually laughed. Fair. Daniel, you stood in that church and promised to love and honor a woman you were planning to divorce the second my money hit your account. You called your own mother pathetic while planning your future with another woman. And you're talking to me about fair. I made mistakes. I know that. But Mom, you have to understand the pressure, the expectations, Vanessa's demands. Stop. My voice came out harder than I'd intended. Stop making excuses. You're 33 years old. You made choices, adult choices. Now you live with the consequences. You're going to cut me off completely, after everything. After everything. I pressed my palm against the door. After I raised you alone, after I worked 70-hour weeks so you could go to private school, after I paid for college, grad school, your car, your apartment, your lifestyle, after I was prepared to give you $22 million as a wedding gift. Yes, Daniel, after everything, I'm done. Mom. Good night, Daniel. I walked away from the door. He pounded a few more times, called my name, then finally, I heard his footsteps retreating. A car door slammed, an engine started, tires on gravel, gone. I poured another glass of wine and sat back down on the porch. The night air felt cool against my burned scalp. I touched it, gently wincing. Tomorrow I'd go to a doctor. Tonight I just wanted to sit here and feel nothing. My phone buzzed on the table, still off, but the vibration meant someone was trying to call. Probably the 50th attempt since I'd left the reception. I picked it up and turned it on. 47 missed calls, 62 text messages. I scrolled through them. Daniel, Vanessa, Patricia. Daniel's groomsmen people I hadn't spoken to in years. Reporters, and one number I recognized immediately. Richard. I called him back. Margaret, thank God. Are you all right? I'm fine. What happened at that reception? I've had 6 calls from Daniel's attorney. Daniel has an attorney now. Apparently hired him 3 hours ago. He's claiming undue influence, emotional manipulation, questioning your mental competency. Of course he is. Margaret, they're going to fight this. The will change the frozen transfer everything. This could get ugly. Let it get ugly. I have recordings of Daniel admitting he planned to defraud me. I have evidence of Vanessa's assault. They can fight all they want. They'll lose. Richard was quiet for a moment. You've really thought this through. I've had 32 years to think it through. I just finally woke up. All right, I'll prepare for litigation. But Margaret, there's something else. The story's already online. Someone at the reception recorded your speech and posted it. It's going viral. My stomach dropped. What? Multiple videos from different angles. The recordings you played, you removing your wig, everything. As of 20 minutes ago, the most watched video had 3 million views. 3 million people had watched me expose my son. 3 million strangers knew my humiliation. Margaret, are you still there? I'm here. There are reporters camped outside your office building. Some at your house too, probably. You might want to stay inside for a few days. Great. Perfect. Anything else? Yes. Daniel's attorney is claiming the recordings were obtained illegally. He's talking about filing criminal charges for wiretapping. I sat up straight. Massachusetts is a one-party consent state. I can record any conversation I'm part of or that I witness. He's bluffing. That's what I told him. But be prepared for them to try everything. When people are desperate, they get creative. After I hung up with Richard, I made the mistake of opening Twitter. My name was trending. #BaldRevenge. #WeddingExpose. #SavageMom. The videos were everywhere. Multiple angles showing me pulling out the recorder, Daniel's voice echoing through the ballroom, Vanessa screaming, and then God, the moment I removed my wig. The comments were split. Half called me a hero. She's a queen. This is how you handle betrayal. I'm standing and applauding. The other half called me vindictive, cruel attention-seeking. Imagine ruining your son's wedding. She could have handled this privately. This is narcissistic behavior. I closed the app, turned off my phone again, sat in the darkness, and tried to remember why I'd thought exposing them publicly was the right choice. Because they deserved it. Because silence had protected them for too long. Because if I'd handled it privately, they would have spun the story, made me the villain, and nothing would have changed. At least that's what I told myself. The doorbell rang again at 8:30. I ignored it. But then a voice called through the door, not Daniel's, a woman's. Mrs. Chen, my name is Detective Sarah Morrison with Boston PD. I need to speak with you about an assault complaint. I froze. An assault complaint? Vanessa was claiming I'd assaulted her. I opened the door. A woman in her 40s stood there, badge in hand, professional, tired-looking. Mrs. Chen, yes. I'm sorry to bother you at home, but we received a complaint from a Vanessa Park Chen. She's claiming you assaulted her at her wedding reception today. Specifically that you publicly humiliated her and caused severe emotional distress. Emotional distress isn't assault. No, but she's also claiming you grabbed her arm and threatened her. Did that happen? I never touched her. I never spoke to her directly at all after the ceremony. Detective Morrison pulled out a notepad. Can you walk me through what happened today? I told her everything. The drugging, the shaving, the note, the recordings, the speech at the reception. She took notes without interrupting. When I finished, she looked up. Do you have evidence of the drugging and assault? The note. The hair removal cream bottle she left on my nightstand. Photos of my scalp. And I can give you the name of my hairstylist who saw the damage this morning. And the recordings. Legally obtained under Massachusetts one-party consent law. She nodded slowly. Mrs. Chen, I'm going to be honest with you. Miss Park's complaint isn't going anywhere. Public humiliation isn't a crime. But I need to file a report. If you want to press charges against her for assault, drugging you, and shaving your head without consent, you'd have a much stronger case. How strong? With the evidence you described, very strong. That's assault and battery at minimum, possibly poisoning depending on what was in the wine. I sat with that for a moment. Pressing charges meant more publicity, more fighting, more ugliness. But it also meant Vanessa couldn't rewrite history, couldn't play victim. I'll think about it. Take your time. But Mrs. Chen, she handed me a card. For what it's worth, I saw the video. What they did to you was wrong. Don't let anyone make you feel guilty for defending yourself. After she left, I stood in my hallway for a long time holding her card, defending yourself. Was that what I'd done? Or had I just wanted revenge? Did it matter? My phone rang. I'd turned it back on to talk to the detective and forgotten to turn it off again. Unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered. Mrs. Chen, this is Amanda Walsh from the Boston Globe. I'd love to get a statement from you about today's incident. I hung up, blocked the number. 3 more calls came in immediately. All reporters. I turned the phone off again and poured another glass of wine. My 3rd, or 4th. I'd lost count. The doorbell rang for the 3rd time that night at 9:45. If you're a reporter, go away. It's Lucia. I opened the door. My stylist stood there holding a casserole dish and looking worried. I saw the videos. Are you okay? I'm fine. Margaret, your head, have you seen a doctor? Not yet. She pushed past me into the house. Where's your kitchen? You're going to eat something, then I'm going to treat those burns properly, and then we're going to talk. I followed her, too tired to argue. She set the casserole in my oven to warm, then made me sit at the kitchen table while she examined my scalp under the bright lights. This is bad. 2nd-degree chemical burns in several places. You need antibiotics, probably steroid cream. Margaret, why didn't you go to the hospital? I had a wedding to attend. She made a sound that was half laugh, half sob. You're insane. You know that. It's been mentioned. She worked in silence for a while, applying something cool and soothing to my scalp. Then, "I'm proud of you." I looked up at her. "What?" "For standing up for yourself, for not letting them get away with it. I know half the internet thinks you're crazy, but I've been doing your hair for 20 years. I've watched you sacrifice everything for that boy, and I've watched him take it all for granted." She met my eyes. "He had this coming." My throat tightened. "Everyone keeps asking if I'm okay, if I'm sure, if I regret it. You're the first person who said I did the right thing." "Because you did. And tomorrow morning we're going to a doctor, and then we're going to figure out what comes next." She stayed until midnight, making sure I ate, talking about everything except the wedding. When she finally left, I felt less alone than I had in hours, but alone still found me in the quiet house after she drove away. I walked through the rooms, looking at 30 years of memories, photos of Daniel at every age, his college graduation, his first day at work, awards and certificates, and reminders of the life I'd built for him. All of it meaningless now. I started taking the photos down, not throwing them away, just packing them into boxes, creating space for something new. At 2 a.m, exhausted and aching, I finally went to bed. Tomorrow would bring more chaos, more fighting, more ugliness. But tonight, in my own bed in my own house, I slept better than I had in years. I woke to pounding on my door at 6:15. The sun was barely up. I pulled on a robe and stumbled downstairs, ready to yell at whoever was disturbing me. Patricia stood on my doorstep, looking like she'd aged 10 years overnight. "We need to talk." "Patricia, it's 6 a.m. My daughter is in the hospital." That woke me up. "What?" "Vanessa had a complete breakdown after you left, screaming, throwing things. She attacked Daniel. They had to sedate her. She's under psychiatric observation." I didn't know what to say. Patricia stepped closer. "You destroyed her. You destroyed my daughter on what should have been the happiest day of her life. Your daughter drugged me and shaved my head. She planned to steal my money and lock me in a nursing home. I didn't destroy anything. I just exposed what was already there. And she made a mistake. A mistake, Patricia. She assaulted me while I was unconscious. That's not a mistake. That's a crime. And you humiliated her in front of 300 people. You recorded private conversations without permission. One-party consent state, completely legal. You're hiding behind technicalities while my daughter suffers. Your daughter is suffering the consequences of her own actions, just like my son is. I'm sorry she's in the hospital, Patricia. I really am. But this isn't my fault." She stared at me for a long moment, tears streaming down her face. "We invited you into our family. We welcomed you. And this is how you repay us." Welcomed me. Patricia Vanessa put me in the back corner at the reception. She mocked me for months. She called me old and useless and made it clear I was an inconvenience. That's not welcoming someone. That's tolerating them for their money. Get off your high horse, Margaret. You think you're the victim here? You're rich, powerful. You have everything. Vanessa is a 28-year-old girl who made some stupid choices because she was overwhelmed by wedding stress. And you, instead of being the bigger person, instead of showing grace, you destroyed her. She destroyed herself. Patricia turned and walked away without another word. I stood in my doorway watching her go, and I felt nothing. No guilt. No regret. Just a strange emptiness where those emotions should have been. Lucia picked me up at 8 and drove me to her doctor friend, who agreed to see me off the books. Dr. Patel examined my scalp and prescribed antibiotics, steroid cream, and something for pain. "This was done deliberately," she said. "Someone knew exactly what they were doing to cause maximum damage without permanent scarring. Lucky they didn't use stronger chemicals, or you'd be looking at infection, maybe worse." "How long until it heals?" "The burns." 2 weeks with treatment. "Your hair?" "That depends. The follicles are damaged but not destroyed. You'll probably have hair again, but it might be thinner, might grow back a different texture." Might. Everything in my life had become might. Lucia drove me home. Reporters were camped outside my gate now. 3 news vans, multiple cameras. They rushed toward the car when we pulled up. "Mrs. Chen, can you comment on Vanessa's hospitalization? Are you planning to press charges? Do you regret your actions? How does it feel to be called the most vindictive mother in America?" Lucia laid on the horn and inched forward until they scattered. We made it through the gate, and she pulled into my garage. "This is insane," she said. "This is my life now." Inside, my landline was ringing. I'd forgotten I even had a landline. The answering machine picked up. "Margaret, it's Richard. Call me immediately. Daniel's attorney just filed for an emergency restraining order claiming you're a danger to him and Vanessa. We need to respond today." Then another message. "Mrs. Chen, this is Barbara from Good Morning America. We'd love to have you on the show to tell your side of the story. We're offering delete. Another, Margaret, it's your cousin Susan. I saw the videos. I can't believe is any of it true. Call me. Delete. 17 messages, all some variation of the same thing. Reporters wanting interviews. Family wanting explanations. Daniel's friends wanting to yell at me. I deleted them all. Then I called Richard. "Margaret, thank God. Where have you been?" "At the doctor. What's this about a restraining order?" "Daniel's claiming you threatened him with violence yesterday, that you're unstable and potentially dangerous." That's absurd. It's also provable bullshit, which is why the judge is unlikely to grant it. But we still need to respond. Can you come to my office at 2? I'll be there. And Margaret, don't talk to any reporters. Don't post anything on social media. Don't give them anything they can use against you. After I hung up, I sat in my kitchen and tried to figure out how my life had turned into this circus. 3 days ago, I was planning a wedding, excited to welcome a daughter-in-law, looking forward to grandchildren someday. Now I was hiding from reporters, fighting restraining orders, and watching my only child try to destroy me. The doorbell rang again. I ignored it. But then my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Mrs. Chen, I'm outside your door. Please let me in. I'm not a reporter. My name is Tessa Reeves. I need to talk to you." Tessa, Daniel's mistress. I should have ignored her, should have called the police. Instead, I opened the door. She was younger than I'd imagined. 26, pretty in a girl-next-door way. She looked terrified. "Mrs. Chen, I'm so sorry to bother you. I know you have no reason to trust me, but I need to tell you something about Daniel. If you're here to defend him, I'm not. I'm here to warn you." That got my attention. "Come in." We sat in my living room. She perched on the edge of the sofa, hands twisting in her lap. "I heard the recording yesterday, the one from the church. Daniel told me it was edited, that you'd spliced together different conversations to make him look bad. But I knew he was lying because I was there for half of it. I heard him say those things." She looked up at me. "He's not who I thought he was." "No, he's exactly who he's always been. I just refuse to see it. There's more." She pulled out her phone. "Daniel's been texting me since yesterday. He wants me to lie for him, to say we weren't really together, that it was just flirting, nothing physical. He wants me to testify that you're unstable, that you've been harassing him for months. Will you?" She shook her head. "No, because it's not true. And because," her voice broke, "because I was in love with him, and he used me, just like he used you, just like he's used everyone. Why are you telling me this? Because you deserve to know what he's planning. He's not going to stop. He needs that money, Mrs. Chen. He's in debt. Massive debt. The company he invested in went bankrupt. He owes people, dangerous people. That $22 million wasn't a gift to him. It was a lifeline." My blood went cold. "How much debt?" "I don't know exactly, but enough that he's scared. Really scared. And when Daniel's scared, he's desperate. And desperate people do terrible things." After Tessa left, I sat in my living room, staring at nothing. Daniel wasn't just greedy, he was desperate. And desperate was so much more dangerous. I called Richard back. "I need security. Cameras, alarm system, maybe a bodyguard. Can you arrange that? Margaret, what's happened?" I told him about Tessa's visit, about Daniel's debts, about the dangerous people. Richard was quiet for a long moment. "I'll have someone at your house within the hour. And Margaret, maybe you should consider leaving town for a while." "Run away, no?" It's not running away, it's being smart. If I leave, Daniel wins. He gets to control the narrative, gets to play victim. No, I'm staying, but I'm not staying unprotected. The security company arrived at noon. By 2 o'clock, my house had cameras covering every entrance motion sensors, a panic button system. The installer showed me how everything worked. You'll be safe here, ma'am. Nobody's getting in without you knowing about it. But safe wasn't the same as secure, and I wondered if I'd ever feel truly secure again. At Richard's office, we spent 3 hours crafting a response to Daniel's restraining order request, evidence that I'd never threatened him, witness statements, the recordings proving he was the one planning harm, not me. The hearing is scheduled for tomorrow at 9, Richard said. The judge will throw this out in 10 minutes, but Margaret, be prepared. Daniel's going to be there. Vanessa might be there. The press will definitely be there. Let them come. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept checking the camera feeds on my phone. Every shadow looked like someone approaching. Every sound made me jump. At 3 in the morning, an alert went off, someone at my back gate. I pulled up the camera feed. A figure in dark clothes face, obscured trying the gate handle. I hit the panic button. The alarm blared. Lights flooded the backyard. The figure ran. Police arrived in 6 minutes. They searched the property but found nothing. No footprints, no evidence, just my racing heart and the knowledge that someone had been there. Probably just kids, the officer said. The alarm scared them off. But I knew better. Daniel was making his move, and this was just the beginning. The courthouse steps were packed with reporters by 8:30. I sat in Richard's car watching them swarm like wasps' cameras, ready microphones extended. This was entertainment to them, my family's destruction packaged as morning news. We can go in through the back entrance, Richard said. No, front door. Margaret, if I sneak in, they'll say I'm ashamed, that I'm hiding. I'm not giving them that story. I stepped out of the car. The questions hit me like physical blows. Mrs. Chen, do you regret destroying your son's marriage? Are the rumors true that you've been estranged for years? What do you say to people calling you the worst mother in America? I kept walking, eyes forward, Richard's hand on my elbow guiding me through the crush. Then someone grabbed my arm and yanked hard. I turned. Vanessa stood there still in her hospital bracelet, eyes wild with rage and medication. You did this to me. You destroyed everything. Security moved toward us, but Vanessa was screaming now, clawing at my face. Richard pulled me back. Officers grabbed Vanessa. She fought them, shrieking words I couldn't make out over the chaos. Get her inside, someone shouted. They dragged Vanessa away, still screaming. Cameras captured every second. Tomorrow's headline already written in my head, Wedding Revenge Turns Violent. Inside the courthouse, Richard steered me to a bench. Are you hurt? I'm fine. But my hands were shaking. That's going to be everywhere, isn't it? Probably, but it also just destroyed any credibility she had. You can't claim someone's unstable when you're the one being dragged away by security. The courtroom was smaller than I'd expected. Daniel sat at a table with his attorney, a sharp-faced man in an expensive suit. He didn't look at me when I entered. Judge Patricia Morrison, no relation to the detective, entered at 9 exactly. She was in her 60s, gray hair pulled back, reading glasses perched on her nose. I've reviewed the petition for a restraining order, she said without preamble. Mr. Chen, your attorney claims Mrs. Chen poses a danger to you and your wife. Walk me through the specific threats. Daniel's attorney stood. Your Honor, Mrs. Chen engaged in a calculated campaign of harassment culminating in a public attack at my client's wedding. She recorded private conversations without consent. Massachusetts is a one-party consent state. Richard interrupted. Let him finish, the judge said. She exposed these recordings publicly with the intent to cause emotional harm. She cut off my client financially in retaliation for his marriage. And yesterday, my client discovered Mrs. Chen hired a private investigator to follow him, which constitutes stalking under... I did no such thing, I said. The judge looked at me. Mrs. Chen, you'll have your turn. Continue, counsel. Daniel's attorney pulled out photos. These were taken yesterday outside my client's apartment. a man in a dark sedan watching the building for hours. When approached, he fled. My client has reason to believe Mrs. Chen hired this man to intimidate him. Your Honor, we have no knowledge of any investigator, Richard said. And if someone was watching Mr. Chen's apartment, perhaps it was a creditor. Mr. Chen owes substantial debts to some rather unsavory individuals. Daniel's face went red. That's privileged information. It's relevant information when you're claiming my client is the threat, Richard shot back. Judge Morrison held up her hand. Enough. Mrs. Chen, did you hire anyone to follow your son? No, Your Honor. Did you threaten him in any way? No, Your Honor. I told him he would no longer receive financial support from me. That's not a threat. That's a boundary. And the recordings played at the wedding were legally obtained and played in response to being publicly humiliated and physically assaulted by his wife. I have medical documentation of chemical burns on my scalp from where Mrs. Vanessa Chen shaved my head while I was drugged. The judge's eyebrows went up. Drugged? Richard handed her the police report Detective Morrison had filed. The photos of my scalp, the note Vanessa left. The judge read everything in silence. Finally, she looked up. Mr. Chen, I'm denying your petition. The evidence shows your wife assaulted your mother, not the other way around. If anyone should be seeking a restraining order here, it's Mrs. Chen Sr. We're done. Daniel's attorney jumped up. Your Honor, we'd like to petition for, we're done, counsel. Next case. Outside the courtroom, reporters swarmed again. This time I stopped and faced them. I have a brief statement. I did not attack my son or his wife. I defended myself against assault and fraud. The judge agreed. That's all I have to say. Mrs. Chen, are you pressing charges against Vanessa? My attorney is exploring all options. Do you have any message for your son? I looked directly at the camera. I hope he gets the help he needs. Then I walked away. In the car, Richard said, That was good. Brief Dignified didn't engage with the bait. How long before Daniel tries something else? Honestly, I'd be surprised if we make it through the week. He was right. By that afternoon, Daniel's attorney had filed a civil suit claiming intentional infliction of emotional distress. By evening, 3 more lawsuits appeared. One from Vanessa's parents for defamation, one from the wedding venue for property damage during Vanessa's breakdown, one from a groomsman claiming I'd injured him when he tried to stop me from leaving the reception. That last one's complete fiction, I told Richard. I didn't touch anyone. Doesn't matter. They're throwing everything at the wall to see what sticks. It's a pressure campaign. They think if they make this expensive and exhausting enough, you'll settle. I won't. I know. Which is why I'm bringing in additional help. This is about to get very ugly, very fast. That night I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. I sat in my living room watching the security camera feeds jumping at every shadow. At midnight, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. Mom? Daniel's voice. Quiet. Broken. What do you want? I needed to hear your voice, to see if you'd even answer. I answered. Now what? Silence. Then I'm sorry. I know you don't believe me. I know sorry doesn't fix anything, but I am. So sorry. Sorry that you got caught. Sorry that your plan didn't work. Or sorry that you hurt me. All of it. Everything. Mom, I've been talking to a therapist, trying to understand why I became this person. And I think I've been angry at you for so long without even realizing it. Angry at me. For being successful. For not needing me. For being this powerful woman who could do everything alone. I felt useless next to you, like I'd never measure up. So I stopped trying and started just taking. Because at least then I had something you gave me. I closed my eyes. Daniel, if you felt that way, why didn't you talk to me? Because I knew what you'd say, that I was capable, that I could do anything I wanted, and I didn't want to hear that because I knew it wasn't true. I'm not like you, Mom. I never was. No one asked you to be like me. Yes, you did. Every time you told me I could be anything, every time you sacrificed for me, every time you looked at me with those proud eyes, you were asking me to be worthy of it. And I knew I wasn't. My chest ached. So you decided to punish me for believing in you. I guess I did. His voice cracked. And Vanessa, God. Vanessa made it so easy. She told me what I wanted to hear, that you were controlling, that you were smothering me, that I deserved to take what was mine, and I believed her because it was easier than facing the truth. What truth? That I'm weak, that I'm selfish, that I threw away the one person who actually loved me because I was too much of a coward to just be honest. I sat there holding the phone listening to my son cry, and I didn't know what to feel. Relief that he finally saw it, anger that it took losing everything, grief for the boy I'd raised who'd somehow become this man. Daniel, I can't fix this for you. I know. And I can't forgive you. Not yet. Maybe not ever. I know that too. But I hope you mean what you're saying. I hope you actually change. Not for me, for yourself. I'm trying, Mom. I'm really trying. After we hung up, I sat in the dark for a long time. Part of me wanted to believe him, wanted to think this was rock bottom and he'd climb back up. But I'd thought that before, too many times. The next morning brought a new crisis. My company's CFO, Sarah, called at 7. Margaret, we have a problem. Someone's leaked internal emails to the press, emails between you and Daniel about company finances. They're claiming you were embezzling to fund your lifestyle while paying Daniel below minimum wage. That's insane. Daniel had a full salary plus bonuses plus... I know, but the emails are real, just completely out of context. And there's more. Someone filed a complaint with the SEC claiming financial irregularities at Chen Properties. My blood went cold. Daniel. We don't know that for sure. It's Daniel or his attorney. They're trying to destroy me professionally since they can't get to me personally. What do you want me to do? Cooperate fully with any investigation. We have nothing to hide, and Sarah, prepare for the press to camp outside the office. This is about to get worse before it gets better. She was right. By noon, the financial allegations were on every news site. By evening, I'd lost 3 major clients. By the next morning, my board of directors had called an emergency meeting. I sat in the conference room I'd sat in 1,000 times and watched men I'd worked with for decades look at me like I was a stranger. Margaret, these allegations are serious, Chairman Howard said. We need to address them head on. They're false, completely false. The SEC investigation will prove that. But until it does, we have a crisis of confidence. Clients are nervous. Investors are asking questions. We need to show we're taking this seriously. What are you suggesting? Temporary leave, with pay, of course, just until the investigation concludes and we can clear your name. You're suspending me. We're protecting the company. I looked around the table. I built this company, from nothing, while most of you were still in business school. And now you want me to step aside because my son, who I'm currently suing, has spread lies about me. Margaret, we understand your position. No, you don't. You understand profits and liability and covering your asses. What you don't understand is loyalty. I stood. I'll save you the trouble. I resign, effective immediately, but I'm retaining my shares and my seat on the board. You want me out? You'll have to buy me out, and my price just went up. The silence in that room was deafening. I walked out with my head high, took the elevator down to the lobby, walked past the receptionist who'd worked for me for 15 years and couldn't meet my eyes. Outside, the press waited, always waiting. Mrs. Chen, can you comment on the SEC investigation? Mrs. Chen, is it true you're being forced out? Mrs. Chen, do you regret your actions at the wedding? I stopped, turned to face them. I regret nothing. My son and his wife committed assault, attempted fraud, and have now orchestrated a campaign to destroy my reputation and my business. But I'm still standing, and I'll still be standing when this is over. Are you saying your son is behind the SEC complaint? I'm saying the truth always comes out, and when it does, a lot of people are going to owe me apologies they'll never give. Richard called as I was driving home. I saw the press conference. Margaret, you need to stop talking to reporters. Why? They're going to write their stories anyway. At least this way they hear it from me. Because every word you say can be used against you in litigation. Daniel's attorney is already claiming your public statements prove you're trying to intimidate witnesses. That's ridiculous. It's the game they're playing, and right now they're winning. At home, I found an envelope taped to my door. No return address. Inside a single sheet of paper with words cut from magazines like a ransom note. Back off or you'll regret it. I called Detective Morrison. She came within an hour, photographed the note, bagged it as evidence. Mrs. Chen, this is escalating. Someone's trying to scare you. It's working. Do you want police protection? Can you even provide that? She hesitated. Not really. You're not technically in immediate danger, but I can have patrol cars drive by more frequently. After she left, I sat in my house, my fortress that didn't feel safe anymore, and wondered how much more I could take. The answer came at 3 a.m, fire alarms shrieking, smoke pouring under my bedroom door. I grabbed my phone and ran. The hallway was thick with smoke. I dropped low, crawling toward the stairs. Heat pressed against me, flames somewhere below. I made it to the front door, stumbled outside onto the lawn. My neighbors were already out, someone shouting about calling 911. Fire trucks arrived. Firefighters rushed past me. I stood on my lawn in my nightgown watching my house burn. Not the whole house, just the kitchen. They got it under control in 20 minutes, but the damage was done. The fire marshal found the cause by sunrise. Arson, accelerant poured through the back window. Someone wanted this house to burn. Any idea who? He gave me a look that said he knew exactly who, but couldn't prove it. We're investigating. Richard showed up at 6. I got the call from police. Margaret, you can't stay here. This is my house. This is a crime scene. And more importantly, it's not safe. Whoever did this will try again. I won't run. Then you'll die. He grabbed my shoulders. Listen to me. This isn't about pride anymore. This is about survival. Someone tried to kill you tonight. The word hung between us. Kill. Not scare. Not intimidate. Kill. Where would I even go? I have a friend with a place in Maine. Off the grid, private. No one would find you there. For how long? As long as it takes. I looked at my house. Smoke still rising from the roof. Windows shattered. My home of 20 years. 1 week, I said. I'll go for 1 week. But then I'm coming back and I'm ending this. How? I met his eyes. I'm going to find every piece of evidence, every lie, every crime Daniel and Vanessa have committed, and then I'm going to bury them with it. Richard drove me to Maine himself, 3 hours north to a cabin on a lake that had no address, no neighbors, no connection to the outside world except a satellite phone. There's food in the pantry, firewood out back. If you need anything, call me on this. He handed me the phone. Don't use your cell. Don't check email. Just rest. I don't need rest. I need answers. Then use this time to think, to plan. But Margaret, please be careful. Whoever's after you isn't playing games anymore. After he left, I stood on the cabin's porch watching the sun rise over the lake. The water was still, perfect, peaceful. Everything my life wasn't. I went inside and called Tessa on the satellite phone. She answered on the first ring. Mrs. Chen, I need your help. Everything you know about Daniel's debts, names, amounts, dates. I need all of it. That's dangerous information. Someone tried to burn down my house last night. I'm past caring about dangerous. She was quiet for a moment. Give me 2 days. I'll get you everything. While I waited, I made my own list. Every questionable thing Daniel had done in the past 5 years. Every suspicious investment, every unexplained expense, every lie I'd ignored because he was my son. The list was longer than I wanted to admit. On the second day, Tessa called. I found something. Daniel didn't just owe money to investors. He owed money to Marcus Webb. Who's Marcus Webb? Loan shark, connected to organized crime. When Daniel's investment went bad, he needed cash fast. Marcus loaned it to him at 30% interest. How much? $3 million initially. With interest and penalties, it's probably closer to 5 now. $5 million to a loan shark. My son was in deeper than I'd imagined. There's more, Tessa said. Marcus has been putting pressure on Daniel. threats, violence. That's why Daniel was so desperate for your wedding gift. It wasn't about starting a new life. It was about staying alive. Where can I find Marcus Webb? Mrs. Chen, no. These aren't people you mess with. I'm not messing with anyone. I'm negotiating. Negotiating what? Daniel's debt. If I pay it, Marcus has no reason to hurt him, and no reason to hurt me. You'd do that, after everything Daniel's done. I looked out at the lake. He's still my son, and despite everything, I don't want him dead. Finding Marcus Webb was easier than I expected. He ran a consulting business out of a waterfront office in Boston. I called from the satellite phone. Webb Consulting. I need to speak with Marcus Webb about Daniel Chen's account. Pause. Who is this? Margaret Chen, Daniel's mother. Hold, please. 2 minutes later, a man's voice. Deep, calm, dangerous. Mrs. Chen, I've been hoping to hear from you. I want to discuss Daniel's debt. There's nothing to discuss. He owes me $5.2 million. He has until the end of the month to pay, or we move to collection. What does collection mean? You're a smart woman. I think you know. I'll pay it, the full amount, but I have conditions. He laughed. You have conditions, lady, your son owes me money. You don't get to make conditions. If you hurt Daniel, you get nothing. If you hurt me, you get nothing. But if you agree to walk away completely permanently, no more contact, I'll pay you $6 million. The debt plus a premium for your trouble. Silence. Why would you do that? Because he's my son, because I'm tired of fighting, because $6 million is cheaper than a funeral. I'll need the money by Friday. Cash. You'll have it Thursday. And Marcus, if Daniel or I have any problems after this, any accidents or mysterious fires, I have documentation of every transaction going to the FBI. Are we clear, Crystal? Then we have a deal. I hung up and immediately called Richard. I need you to liquidate $6 million in assets by Thursday morning. Margaret, what are you? I'm buying Daniel's safety. Don't argue, just do it. On Thursday, I met Marcus Webb in a parking garage downtown. He brought 2 men. I brought Richard and a briefcase of cash. Count it, I said. He nodded to one of his men who opened the case and counted quickly. It's all here. So we're done. Marcus looked at me with something like respect. You got balls, lady, I'll give you that. Yeah, we're done. Daniel's clear. But tell him if he ever comes to me again, the price doubles. He won't. I'll make sure of it. After they left, Richard turned to me. You just paid off your son's debt to a loan shark, after everything he's done. I paid off a threat to my son's life. There's a difference. Is there? I didn't answer because I didn't know. That night, I called Daniel from the satellite phone. Mom, where are you? Are you okay? I heard about the fire. I'm fine, and you're fine too now. I paid Marcus Webb. You're clear. Silence. Then, you what? $6 million. Your debt is gone. You're safe. Mom, why would you after everything I did? Because you're my son. Because despite everything, I don't want you dead. But Daniel, hear me clearly. This is the last time, the absolute last time I bail you out. From now on, you sink or swim on your own. I understand. Do you? Because I need you to really understand. I forgave your debts, but I haven't forgiven you. That's going to take time, maybe forever. But you're alive, and that's what matters. Thank you. His voice broke. Mom, I don't deserve this. No, you don't. Which is why you'd better figure out how to become someone who does. After I hung up, I sat on the cabin porch and watched the stars. I'd just spent $6 million saving the son who'd tried to destroy me. Was I an idiot? Probably, but I was an idiot who could sleep at night knowing I'd done the right thing, even if the right thing hurt like hell. I stayed in Maine for 3 more days after paying off Daniel's debt. Not because I was hiding anymore, but because I needed silence, space to think without lawyers calling reporters stalking or my son's latest crisis exploding in my face. On the 4th morning, I woke to my phone ringing. Not the satellite phone, my regular cell which I'd turned back on the night before. Lucia. Margaret, where are you? I've been trying to reach you for 2 days. Maine. Why? What's happened? It's Vanessa. She's been released from psychiatric hold, and she's talking to everyone, every news outlet, every podcast, anyone who'll listen. She's telling a completely different story. My stomach dropped. What story? That you've been abusing Daniel for years, that you controlled every aspect of his life, that when he finally tried to break free by getting married, you snapped and orchestrated this whole revenge plot. She's got people believing her, Margaret. The narrative is shifting. I closed my eyes. Of course it was. A week ago, I was the victim defending herself. Now I was the villain who'd gone too far. I'm coming back. Are you sure that's smart? Smart or not, I'm done hiding. Richard picked me up from the cabin that afternoon. The 3-hour drive back to Boston felt like descending into a war zone. He filled me in on everything I'd missed. The SEC investigation had found nothing. My company's books were clean. But 3 more clients had left anyway, spooked by the attention. The board was still pressuring me to sell my shares. Daniel had dropped all his lawsuits except one, the civil suit for emotional distress, which his attorney claimed had merit now that I'd proven my vindictive nature by exposing him publicly. And Vanessa, I asked. She's a PR machine, crying on camera, talking about her trauma, claiming she's the real victim. People are eating it up. What about the assault charges, the drugging my medical records? Her attorney's claiming it was a misunderstanding, that you mixed up your medications and blamed her, that the note was a joke between friends that you took out of context. That's insane. That's spin, and it's working. We drove in silence for a while. Then Richard said, "Margaret, I need to ask you something. Why did you pay off Daniel's debt?" "Because he's my son." That's not a reason. That's an excuse. After everything he did, he was going to die, Richard. Whether I forgave him or not, whether he deserved it or not, I couldn't let him die. What kind of person would that make me? A smart one. I actually laughed. Maybe, but I'd also be someone I couldn't recognize in the mirror. And I've lost enough of myself in this mess. My house still smelled like smoke when we pulled up. The kitchen was boarded up, the windows covered in plastic. Crime scene tape fluttered in the wind. "The fire marshal's report came back," Richard said. "Definitely arson. Accelerant was gasoline, poured through the kitchen window between 2 and 3 a.m., no prints, no witnesses, dead end. It was Daniel. We can't prove that. I know who my son is." Inside, I walked through rooms that felt violated. Everything was exactly where I'd left it, but nothing felt the same. Someone had tried to kill me here, in my own home, the place I'd built with 30 years of work. I started packing immediately. "Where are you going?" Richard asked. "Apartment downtown. Already signed the lease before Maine. Moving company comes tomorrow. I'm not staying in this house another night." Smart move. Survival move. That evening I turned on the TV and watched Vanessa's interview on a primetime news show. She sat there in a soft pink sweater, looking young and vulnerable and heartbroken. "Margaret Chen destroyed my wedding day," she said, tears streaming perfectly down her face. "She humiliated me in front of everyone I love. And why? Because I married her son. Because Daniel finally chose someone besides her." The interviewer leaned forward sympathetically. "You're saying she couldn't handle losing control of him?" "Exactly. She'd controlled every aspect of his life for 33 years. His education, his career, his finances. When he tried to build something with me, she saw it as betrayal." "What about the allegations that you drugged her and shaved her head?" Vanessa's face crumpled. "That's the cruelest lie of all. Margaret and I had wine together the night before the wedding. She was taking some medication, I don't know what, and I think she had a reaction. When she woke up disoriented, she blamed me. As for her hair..." She paused, wiping tears. "Margaret's been wearing wigs for years. She has alopecia. She was embarrassed about it and made up this story to justify attacking me." I turned off the TV before I threw something at it. My phone rang, Lucia again. "Did you see it?" "I saw it. Margaret, you need to respond. You need to tell your side. My side doesn't matter. I have evidence and she has tears. Tears always win. So what are you going to do?" "I'm going to let her destroy herself. Give her enough rope and she'll hang herself with it." What does that mean? It means I'm done playing defense. Time to go on offense. I called Tessa that night. I need you to do something for me, something that might get you in trouble. What kind of trouble? The illegal kind. She was quiet for a moment. What do you need? Vanessa's financial records, bank statements, credit cards, everything. There's money moving somewhere and I need to know where. That's way beyond illegal, Mrs. Chen. That's prison time if we get caught. I know, which is why I'm not asking you to do it. I'm asking if you know someone who can. I might, but it'll cost. How much? 50,000. Done. Set it up. 3 days later, I met Tessa in a coffee shop in Cambridge. She slid a USB drive across the table. Everything's on here. Bank records going back 2 years, credit cards, Venmo, PayPal, everything. How? Don't ask. Just know that if this gets traced back, we're both going to prison. I took the drive. Thank you. Mrs. Chen, why are you doing this? You paid off Daniel's debt. You could walk away, start over. Why keep fighting? Because if I don't, she wins, and I've spent too much of my life letting people win who didn't deserve it. At home, my new home, a sterile 2-bedroom apartment with no memories and no smoke damage, I plugged in the drive and started digging through Vanessa's finances. What I found made my blood run cold. 2 months before the wedding, Vanessa had received a payment of $50,000 from someone named Victoria Lau. The memo said, consultation fee. I searched Victoria Lau. She was an estate attorney in Manhattan, specializing in elder law and contested wills. Vanessa had been planning to challenge my will before she even married Daniel. I kept digging. More payments, smaller amounts. But the pattern was clear. Vanessa had been preparing for this fight for months, maybe years. Then I found something else. A wire transfer from Vanessa to someone named James Park, her brother. The amount $200,000, dated 3 days after the wedding. Why would Vanessa give her brother $200,000 right after her wedding imploded? I called Tessa again. I need background on James Park, Vanessa's brother, everything you can find. On it. While I waited, I pulled up Daniel's financial records, the ones I still had access to as his former financial guarantor. I'd been too angry to look closely before. Now I looked with fresh eyes. 6 months ago, Daniel had received a wire transfer of $100,000 from Vanessa. Before they were even engaged, she'd been paying him. Paying him to what? Marry her, stay with her, give her access to me. My phone buzzed. Tessa. James Park, age 31, lives in Manhattan, works as a hedge fund analyst. And here's the interesting part. He's been under investigation by the FBI for securities fraud. When investigation opened 8 months ago, right around the time Vanessa got serious with Daniel, the pieces clicked into place. Vanessa's brother was in legal trouble, needed money. Vanessa targeted Daniel and threw him me to get that money. The wedding wasn't about love. It was a con from the start. Tessa, I need you to get this information to the FBI, anonymously. Can you do that? I think so. But Mrs. Chen, if this is true, if Vanessa really was running a con, she's dangerous. More dangerous than Daniel ever was. I know, which is why I need to move fast. I called Richard next, told him everything. The financial records, the payments, the connection to James Park. Margaret, if you're right about this, we're not just talking about civil fraud. This is criminal conspiracy, wire fraud, possibly RICO charges if we can prove she's done this before. Can you find out if she has? I know a private investigator, former FBI. He can dig into Vanessa's history, see if there's a pattern. Do it. Money's not an issue. Margaret, this is going to get messier before it gets cleaner. It's already a mess. At least now I understand what kind of mess it is. The private investigator's name was Margaret Chen, no relation. He was in his 50s, ex-FBI white-collar crime division, with a reputation for being both brilliant and ruthless. We met in his office in downtown Boston. He listened to everything without interrupting, taking notes on a yellow legal pad. When I finished, he sat back and steepled his fingers. If what you're saying is true, Vanessa Park is a professional. This isn't her first time running this con. Can you prove it? Give me 2 weeks. If she's done this before, I'll find it. You have 1 week. And Marcus, be careful. Someone tried to burn down my house. These people don't play nice." He smiled. "Neither do I." While Marcus investigated, I focused on rebuilding my life. The apartment was coming together. I'd hired an interior designer who was making it feel less like a hotel and more like home. My hair was growing back, patchy and gray, but growing. The burns on my scalp had healed to pink scars that would fade with time. Lucia convinced me to take a painting class at the community center. "You need something that's just yours. Not about Daniel, not about the company, not about revenge. Just you." She was right. Every Tuesday and Thursday evening, I sat in a room with a dozen other people and painted watercolors of fruit bowls and landscapes. It was boring and peaceful and exactly what I needed. I met a woman there named Clara. She was 72, widowed 5 years ago, with 3 adult children who never called. "They're busy," she said without bitterness, "living their lives. That's what they're supposed to do. Don't you resent it?" I used to. Spent 2 years angry that I'd given them everything and got nothing back. Then I realized they don't owe me their lives. Love isn't a transaction. It's a gift, and gifts don't come with strings. I thought about that a lot over the next few days. Had I loved Daniel with strings attached? Had I given him everything but demanded everything in return? Maybe. Probably. But did that justify what he'd done, what Vanessa had done? No. Love without boundaries wasn't love. It was enabling. And I was done enabling. Marcus called on day 6. "I found something. Can you come to my office?" I was there in 20 minutes. He laid out a series of documents on his desk. "Vanessa Park has done this 3 times before, different names each time. She targets wealthy men with controlling mothers, gets engaged, creates a crisis that forces the mother to choose between her son and her money, then swoops in to collect when the family implodes. 3 times. That I can prove. Probably more. First time was 7 years ago in Los Angeles. Mark Stein, son of a real estate developer worth $50 million. Vanessa called herself Victoria Park back then. She married Mark, created a rift with his mother, and walked away with a $2 million settlement 6 months later. Why didn't the mother fight? She died, car accident, brakes failed, police ruled it an accident, but he let that hang in the air. You think Vanessa killed her? I think Vanessa benefits when mothers die. Second case, Chicago, 4 years ago. Richard Turner, son of a pharmaceutical exec. Vanessa was Veronica Park that time. Similar pattern. Except the mother survived, paid Vanessa $3 million to go away, and now lives in a nursing home. Jesus. Third case, Miami, 2 years ago. Thomas Wu, son of a tech entrepreneur. Vanessa was Valerie Park. Thomas's mother fought back like you're doing. Her house burned down. She survived, but was too scared to continue the fight, paid $5 million and moved to Taiwan. So, I'm next. You were supposed to be, except you didn't follow the script. You fought back publicly. You exposed her. And now she's scrambling. Can we prove any of this? I can prove the pattern. I have documentation of all 3 previous marriages, name changes, financial settlements. But tying her directly to the accidents, that's harder. I'd need the FBI involved. Then we get the FBI involved. Margaret, if we do this, there's no going back. Vanessa will know you're coming for her, and cornered animals are dangerous. She's already tried to kill me once. How much more dangerous can she get? Marcus looked at me with something like admiration. Most people would run at this point, take the loss, and rebuild somewhere else. I'm not most people. No, you're really not. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about those other mothers. The one who died in a car accident, the one in the nursing home, the one who fled to Taiwan. All of them had loved their sons. All of them had tried to protect their families, and all of them had lost. But I wasn't going to lose. I called Richard at midnight. I need you to set up a meeting with the FBI, tomorrow if possible. Margaret, it's midnight. I don't care. I have evidence of a serial fraud scheme that's crossed state lines multiple times. They'll want this. Let me make some calls. By noon the next day, I was sitting in a conference room at the FBI's Boston field office. 2 agents, Morrison and Chen, which made me smile given the investigator's name, listened to everything Marcus and I presented. 3 hours later, Agent Morrison leaned back in his chair. "This is enough for us to open an investigation. But Ms. Chen, I need to be clear this will take time. Months, possibly years. And we can't guarantee Vanessa will be charged. What about protecting me in the meantime?" "We can't provide security. You're not a witness yet, just a victim. But I'd suggest you take precautions, vary your routine, install security, maybe hire a bodyguard." "I've already done all that." "Good, because if Vanessa figures out you've come to us, she's going to move fast. These types always do." I left the FBI office feeling both relieved and terrified. Relieved that someone official was finally taking this seriously. Terrified because now Vanessa would know I wasn't backing down. The call came 2 hours later. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. Margaret Chen. "Who is this?" "My name is James Park. I'm Vanessa's brother. We need to talk." My heart stopped. "How did you get this number?" "That doesn't matter. What matters is that you drop whatever investigation you've started. Stop talking to the FBI. Stop digging into my sister's past. And maybe we let you walk away from this alive." "Are you threatening me?" "I'm offering you a way out. Take it." "Or what?" "Or we finish what we started with your house. Except next time you won't wake up in time to run." The line went dead. I sat there shaking the phone still pressed to my ear. They'd just confirmed everything. The arson, the threats, all of it. I called Agent Morrison immediately. "James Park just called me, made direct threats. Do you need me to come back in?" "We'll trace the call. And Mrs. Chen, don't go anywhere alone, not until we have them in custody." "How long will that take?" "I don't know, but please be careful." Careful. Everyone kept telling me to be careful. But careful hadn't kept my house from burning. Careful hadn't stopped Vanessa from drugging me. Careful hadn't protected the 3 mothers before me. Careful wasn't going to win this fight. I needed to be smart, strategic, and most of all, I needed to be brave. Because Vanessa and James thought they could scare me into silence, thought they could make me choose between my safety and my justice. They were wrong. I'd spent $6 million saving Daniel's life even after he'd betrayed me. I'd walked away from my company to protect what I'd built. I'd survived assault, arson, and attempted murder. I wasn't backing down now. That night, I recorded a video. Just me sitting in my apartment speaking directly to the camera. I told the whole story. Everything. The pattern of fraud, the previous victims, the threats, James Park's phone call, all of it. Then I uploaded it to YouTube with a simple title, The Truth About Vanessa Park. Within an hour, it had 10,000 views. Within a day, 1 million. Within a week, it had gone viral. Vanessa could spin her victim story to sympathetic reporters, but she couldn't spin away evidence, documentation, other victims coming forward. The house of cards was falling, and I was the one pushing. The video hit 5 million views by morning. My phone exploded with notifications I couldn't keep up with. News outlets requesting interviews, lawyers offering representation, and messages, thousands of messages from people sharing their own stories of family betrayal, financial abuse, children who'd turned on parents. But the message that mattered came at 7 a.m. from Agent Morrison. "Mrs. Chen, we're moving now. Don't leave your apartment. Don't answer the door for anyone except law enforcement. We'll be in touch." "You're arresting them." "Can't discuss an ongoing operation, just stay put." I spent the next 3 hours pacing my apartment, refreshing news sites, jumping at every sound. Then my phone rang. Daniel. "Mom, the FBI just showed up at my apartment. They're asking about Vanessa, about money transfers." "What did you do?" I told the truth. "They're saying she's a con artist, that she targeted me to get to you. That's insane, right? That can't be true." "It's true. She's done it 3 times before. Different men, different families, same pattern." Silence. Then his voice small and broken. "I'm such an idiot." "Yes, you are. But you're also a victim. She used you, Daniel, just like she used those other men." "Did you know, this whole time, did you know?" "I suspected something was wrong, but I didn't know the full extent until this week." "Why didn't you tell me?" "Would you have believed me a week ago you were suing me, calling me vindictive, claiming I was the problem?" He didn't answer because we both knew the truth. He wouldn't have believed me. Not until it was too late. "What happens now?" he finally asked. "The FBI investigates. They build a case. And hopefully Vanessa and her brother go to prison for a very long time. And us. What happens to us?" I sat down on my couch, suddenly exhausted. "I don't know, Daniel. I really don't know." The arrests happened at noon. I watched it live on 3 different news channels. FBI agents led Vanessa out of her parents' house in handcuffs. She was screaming, struggling, makeup running down her face. Nothing like the composed victim she'd played for the cameras. James Park was arrested simultaneously in Manhattan. He went quietly, which somehow seemed more ominous. By evening, the charges were public: wire fraud, conspiracy, interstate fraud, and for James, securities fraud from his separate case. Both were being held without bail. Patricia called me at 6. "Are you happy now my daughter is in jail because of you?" "Your daughter is in jail because she committed multiple felonies. She made mistakes. She drugged me, assaulted me, tried to kill me, and defrauded at least 3 other families before mine. Those aren't mistakes, Patricia. That's a pattern. You destroyed her life. She destroyed her own life. I just made sure everyone knew about it." I paused. "Patricia, did you know about the other men, the other families?" Silence. Then quietly, "I suspected. There were things that didn't add up. Money appearing from nowhere. Stories that changed. But she's my daughter. I wanted to believe her." "I understand that. But your daughter almost killed me. And she would have done it again to someone else if I hadn't stopped her." "I know." Her voice cracked. "I know that now. But she's still my baby girl, and I don't know how to reconcile the daughter I raised with the person she became." "Neither do I with my son, but we have to try." After we hung up, I realized something. Patricia and I had both loved our children blindly. Both made excuses. Both enabled behavior we should have stopped years ago. The difference was, I'd finally opened my eyes. I hoped she would too. The media circus intensified over the next few days. My video had opened floodgates. The other victims came forward. Mark Stein's mother, who hadn't died in a car accident after all but had faked her death to escape, gave an interview from Canada where she'd been hiding for 7 years. "Vanessa tried to kill me twice," she said, "once with my brakes, once with poison in my coffee. I only survived because I became paranoid enough to check everything. When my son wouldn't believe me when the police said there was no evidence, I realized the only way to survive was to disappear." The mother from Chicago, the one supposedly in a nursing home, turned out to be in a psychiatric facility. Vanessa had gaslit her so thoroughly that she'd had a complete breakdown. But she was recovering now, and she was talking. "She made me think I was losing my mind," the woman said in a video interview. "Every time I tried to prove what she was doing, evidence would disappear. People would tell me I was confused. My own son said I was being paranoid, but I wasn't crazy. She was just that good at manipulation." The woman from Miami who'd fled to Taiwan flew back to testify. "I thought I was safe across an ocean, but I still have nightmares. Still look over my shoulder. Margaret Chen is braver than I ever was." Brave. People kept calling me brave. But I didn't feel brave. I felt tired, angry, relieved it was almost over, but grieving for what I'd lost in the process. Richard called with an update on the company. "The board wants you back. They've issued a formal apology. Clients are returning. The SEC cleared you completely. Chen Properties is yours again if you want it." Do I want it? That's the question, isn't it? I thought about it for a long time. The company had been my life for 30 years, my identity, my purpose, but somewhere along the way it had become a cage, a responsibility I carried because I didn't know how to put it down. "I'll come back," I told Richard, "but not as CEO. I want to transition to chairman. Find someone else to run day-to-day operations. I'm 64 years old and I've spent enough time in that office." "What will you do instead?" "I don't know yet, but I'm going to figure it out." Michelle, the trial was set for 6 months away, but the evidence was so overwhelming that Vanessa's attorney started negotiating a plea deal within 2 weeks. She'd plead guilty to reduced charges in exchange for testimony against James and full disclosure of all her previous schemes. She's trying to save herself, Agent Morrison told me, throwing her brother under the bus and claiming he was the mastermind. Was he? James handled the money and some of the logistics, but Vanessa was the architect, the planner, the one who chose the victims and executed the cons. He's guilty, but she's guiltier. Will she go to prison? 15 to 20 years if she takes the plea, 30 to life if she goes to trial. Her attorney's smart enough to know they can't win. And James? He's going away for a long time. The securities fraud alone is worth 10 years. Add the conspiracy charges and he's looking at life. Justice. That's what this was. But it felt hollow. 3 families destroyed. 4 if I counted my own. All because of greed and manipulation and children who'd been taught that love was something you could weaponize. Daniel came to see me 3 weeks after Vanessa's arrest. I almost didn't let him in, but something in his voice on the intercom, broken, desperate but finally honest, made me buzz him up. He looked terrible. He'd lost weight. His expensive clothes hung loose. Dark circles under his eyes suggested he wasn't sleeping. "Mom," he said, and started crying before he could say anything else. I let him cry. Didn't comfort him, didn't rush him, just sat there and waited for it to pass. When he finally composed himself, he looked at me with red-rimmed eyes. "I need to tell you something. About the fire. About everything." My chest tightened. "Okay." "I knew Vanessa was going to do something to you. Not specifically the fire, but something. She kept saying you needed to be taught a lesson, that you needed to understand your place. And Mom, I let her. I didn't stop her. I didn't warn you. I just let it happen." "Did you help her?" "No, but I knew. Isn't that just as bad?" "Yes, it is." He flinched like I'd hit him. "I'm so sorry. I know sorry doesn't fix anything, doesn't undo what I've done, but I need you to know I'm getting help, real help. Therapy 3 times a week. I'm working on understanding why I became this person who could let his mother almost die." "And what have you figured out?" "That I was angry at you for being strong, for not needing me, for being this successful, powerful woman who made me feel small just by existing. And instead of working on myself, instead of becoming someone worth respecting, I tore you down. Or let Vanessa tear you down, because if you were small, maybe I'd feel big." I absorbed that. It hurt, but it also rang true. "What else?" "That I've been using you my entire adult life. Financially, emotionally, all of it. You were right at the wedding when you called me pathetic. I am pathetic. I'm a 33-year-old man who never learned to stand on his own because his mother never let him fall. Don't blame me for your choices, Daniel. I'm not. I'm saying you saved me every time I screwed up, paid my debts, fixed my mistakes, made excuses, and I took that as permission to keep screwing up. But that's on me, not you." We sat in silence for a while. Then I said, "I forgave your debt to Marcus Webb, $6 million. Did you know that?" His eyes went wide. "You what?" "After everything you did, after you tried to destroy me, I still couldn't let you die. So I paid it, every penny. You're clear." "Mom, why?" "Because you're my son. Because despite everything, I still love you. But Daniel, hear me clearly. That was the last time. The absolute last time I save you. From now on, you succeed or fail on your own merit." "I understand." "Do you?" "Because I need you to really understand. I'm not your safety net anymore. I'm not your bank. I'm not your excuse. If you want a relationship with me, it has to be built on honesty and respect. Not money, not obligation. Real love. Can you do that?" He was quiet for a long time. Then, "I don't know, but I want to try." "That's all I can ask." He left an hour later. We didn't hug, didn't make promises we couldn't keep, but something had shifted. Not forgiveness exactly, more like possibility. The possibility that maybe someday we could build something real. The weeks turned into months. Vanessa took the plea deal and was sentenced to 18 years. James went to trial, lost, and got 35 years. Patricia sold her house and moved to Florida, unable to face the scrutiny and shame. The media moved on to the next scandal. And slowly, quietly, my life began to rebuild. I hired a new CEO for Chen Properties, a brilliant woman named Sarah, who'd been my CFO. I stayed on as chairman, but cut my hours to 20 a week. The rest of my time I spent learning who Margaret Chen was outside of work and motherhood. I took painting classes and got better. Not great, but better. My teacher said I had an eye for color, which felt like high praise from someone who actually knew what they were talking about. I joined a book club, made friends with women who didn't know about the wedding or the scandal or any of it. Just knew me as Margaret, who liked thrillers and complained about arthritis and could never remember which week we were meeting. I traveled, took a trip to Italy by myself, and spent 2 weeks eating pasta and visiting museums and not checking my phone obsessively. It was the first time in 30 years I'd gone anywhere without worrying about Daniel. Clara from the painting class became a real friend. We had coffee every Tuesday morning and talked about everything: kids' aging, regrets, hopes. She'd lost her husband to cancer and understood grief in a way most people didn't. "You're grieving too," she told me one morning. "Not a death, but a loss. The son you thought you had, the family you thought you'd built. That's real grief, and it takes time." She was right. I was grieving, but I was also healing. 6 months after the arrests, I got a call from Mark Stein's mother, the woman who'd faked her death to escape Vanessa. Her name was Ruth, and she wanted to meet. We had lunch at a quiet restaurant in Boston. She was in her 70s, elegant with eyes that had seen too much. "Thank you," she said before we'd even ordered, "for stopping her, for having the courage I didn't have." "You survived. That took courage. I ran. You fought. There's a difference." We talked for 3 hours, about our sons, about the manipulation, about the guilt we carried for not seeing it sooner, about the fear that we'd somehow failed as mothers. "My son still doesn't believe me," Ruth said. "He thinks I abandoned him, that I'm paranoid. Vanessa convinced him so thoroughly that I was the problem he can't see past it even now." "I'm sorry." "Don't be. I'm alive. That's more than I'd be if I'd stayed." She reached across the table and took my hand. "You saved lives, Margaret, not just your own. Every future victim Vanessa would have targeted. You saved them too." I hadn't thought about it that way, but she was right. By exposing Vanessa, by refusing to back down, I'd protected people I'd never meet, mothers who wouldn't have to go through what we'd gone through. That thought helped, made the pain feel purposeful. Daniel and I had coffee once a month, awkward, stilted conversations that slowly became easier. He was working a real job now, not one I'd arranged, living in a modest apartment, not one I'd paid for, driving a used car, building a life that was actually his. "I'm dating someone," he told me at our 6-month coffee. "Her name's Amy. She's a teacher. Makes almost nothing, but she's real, not interested in my money or my connections because I don't have any anymore. I'd like to meet her someday." "Really? Really?" He smiled. It was the first genuine smile I'd seen from him in years, maybe ever. "She knows everything, Mom, about Vanessa, about what I did, all of it. I didn't hide anything. And she's still here. That's how you know she's the right one." On the 1-year anniversary of the wedding, I woke up early and drove to the cemetery where my husband was buried. I hadn't been in years, too busy working, raising Daniel, building a life. "Hi, Richard," I said, sitting on the grass beside his headstone. "I made a mess of things, with Daniel, with everything. I thought I was protecting him by giving him everything. Turns out I was just teaching him to take." The morning was quiet, birds singing, wind in the trees. I imagined what Richard would say if he were here. Probably something pragmatic and kind and exactly what I needed to hear. But I'm fixing it, or trying to. He's becoming his own person finally, and I'm becoming mine. Took us 30 years, but we're getting there. I sat there for a while longer, then stood and brushed grass off my pants. "I'll come back more often, I promise." That evening, I had dinner with Lucia, Clara, and Ruth, 3 women who'd become my unexpected support system. We laughed about getting older, complained about technology, and shared stories that would have horrified our younger selves. "To surviving," Ruth said, raising her glass. "To surviving," we echoed. But as I clinked glasses with these women who understood me in ways my family never had, I realized it wasn't just about surviving anymore. It was about living. Really living. Not for Daniel, not for the company, not for anyone's expectations. Just for me. 2 weeks later, I got a letter from Vanessa. It was waiting in my mailbox, forwarded from my old address. I almost threw it away unopened. But curiosity won. The letter was short, handwritten, no apologies. You won. Are you happy now you destroyed my life, my family, everything I built? I hope it was worth it. I hope you sleep well at night knowing you put me in prison, because I won't forget. And when I get out, you'll regret this. I promise you that. I read it twice, then called Agent Morrison. She's threatening me from prison. It's not uncommon. Inmates get desperate, feel powerless, lash out at whoever they can. Should I be worried? She's got 18 years minimum. By the time she gets out, she'll be in her 40s and you'll be in your 80s. I wouldn't lose sleep over it. But I did lose sleep. One night, lying awake wondering if the fight would ever really be over, if I'd ever feel completely safe again. Then I got angry. At Vanessa for still trying to control me with fear. At myself for letting her. I wrote my own letter, didn't send it to her, I wasn't that foolish, but I wrote it anyway, getting every thought out of my head and onto paper. You didn't destroy my life, Vanessa. You woke me up. You showed me what I'd been too afraid to see, that my son was using me, that I was enabling him, that love without boundaries is just self-destruction. Yes, I put you in prison, but only after you drugged me, assaulted me, and tried to kill me. You made your choices. Now you're living with the consequences, just like I'm living with mine. I burned the letter in my kitchen sink and watched the paper curl and blacken. It felt ceremonial, final, like I was burning away the last connection to that horrible day and everything that came after. Daniel called the next morning. Mom, I need to tell you something. Amy and I are getting engaged. My stomach dropped. Not again. Not another woman, another wedding, another disaster. Mom, did you hear me? I heard you. Daniel, are you sure it's only been a year? I know, but she's different. We're different. And I'm not asking you for money or permission or anything. I'm telling you because I want you to be part of this, if you're willing. Did you sign a prenup? He laughed. Actual genuine laughter. Mom, I don't have anything worth protecting. She makes more than I do. But yes, we're both signing one, because we want to build this right. No secrets, no games, just honest. Then I'm happy for you. Really? Really? But Daniel, if you ever let someone treat me the way Vanessa did again, we're done, completely. Do you understand? I understand. And Mom, I won't. I'm not that person anymore. Or I'm trying not to be. That's all I can ask. The engagement party was small. Daniel's apartment, pizza and beer, Amy's family, and a few close friends. I brought Lucia and Clara for moral support. Amy was lovely, warm, funny, genuine. She shook my hand and said, Mrs. Chen, I've heard so much about you. Thank you for coming. Please call me Margaret, and thank you for making my son happy. He makes me happy too. And I promise you I'm not interested in his money or his family connections, just him. I believe you. And I did. Because Amy looked at Daniel the way my husband used to look at me, like he was enough, exactly as he was. That night, driving home with Lucia, she said, You did good today. I didn't do anything except show up. Exactly. You showed up, gave them your blessing, didn't let fear stop you from being part of his life. That's huge. Maybe it was. After everything, showing up felt like victory. A year later, I walked Daniel down the aisle at his second wedding. Small ceremony, 20 people, Amy's parents' backyard. No reporters, no drama, just love and vows that actually meant something. When the officiant asked if anyone objected, I held my breath. But there was only silence and smiles. Daniel and Amy exchanged rings, kissed. Everyone applauded. Afterward, Daniel pulled me aside. Thank you, Mom, for everything, for not giving up on me even when I gave you every reason to. You're my son. I'll never give up on you, but I also won't enable you. There's a difference. I know, and I'm grateful for both. We hugged, really hugged, for the first time in longer than I could remember. That evening, sitting on my apartment balcony watching the Boston skyline light up, I thought about the past 2 years. Everything I'd lost, everything I'd gained. I'd lost my hair, my house, my company position, my illusions about my son. I'd lost time and money and peace of mind. But I'd gained myself. I'd gained the strength to say no, the courage to fight back, the wisdom to know when to hold on and when to let go. I'd gained real friendships, a relationship with Daniel built on honesty instead of obligation. And most importantly, I'd gained freedom. Freedom from being the martyr mother who sacrificed everything. Freedom from measuring my worth by my son's success. Freedom from the cage I'd built around myself and called love. My phone buzzed. A text from Clara. "Coffee tomorrow, I want to hear all about the wedding." I smiled and typed back, "Absolutely, my treat." Then I set down my phone, poured myself a glass of wine, and raised it to the city lights. "To surviving," I whispered, "and to finally learning to live." I'd woken up bald on my son's wedding day, been drugged, assaulted, betrayed by everyone I'd loved and protected, but I'd survived. I'd fought back. I'd won. Not because I destroyed Vanessa and James, not because I got justice, not even because I rebuilt my relationship with Daniel. I won because I finally learned the most important lesson of all. The only person who could save me was me, and I did.